on my spaceship, and I think I've got a very important mission to do. Let's check things out around here. Oh yes, here we are on the bridge. Let's look out at our giant spaceship. Good work, officer. You guys are doing really well typing. I see you're zooming in with your class there. All right. Oh, nice hologram. All right, let's go to my special office here so I can see what the special message is. Okay, and here's my desk. Oh, look, a guitar. Pretty cool. Oh, here's my desk. Time to sit down at the computer and get ready for a math lesson. All right. Here we go. Hi everybody, welcome to lesson 9.6, which is the area of composite figures. Composite means it's made out of more than one piece, basically. So, here is an example of a composite figure. But how do we find the area of the green part without the black part? So one thing that we can do is make believe that this is two separate shapes. So if I do that, so let's look, so if I do this, so now this is a blue rectangle and a green rectangle, right? And if we notice here, this side was 10 and this is 5. So if we're going to make this green one rectangle by itself, if this side is 5, then that means this side, this side is 5, and that means there's 5 left from the 10 for this one. So now we have two rectangles, 6 by 5, which is 30, and 5 by 10, which is 50. So now we have a 50 and a 30, and you add them together and the whole thing would be 80. Got it? Cool. Let's try another one that's a little bit harder. Oh my gosh, what is this shape? It's not a rectangle, it's not quite a trapezoid, it's like kind of weird because it has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 sides. So that would be a pentagon, but it's irregular. So what can we do with this? We will also turn this, sort of like the last one, into two different shapes. And the way we do that is, ta-da, now we have a rectangle here and a trapezoid here. Even though it's not even, it's still a trapezoid. No, it's not symmetrical. So this rectangle pink one is just going to be 4 by 8, which is 32. And now this, how do we find this length? Because remember, this 8 is for the whole side. So we know that if this is 4, that means this has to be 4. If this is 4, that means this is also 4. So now this is going to be a little bit more complicated. Oh, so we know this rectangle is just 4 times 8, so it's going to be 32. And now to find the trapezoid, right? So we know that if this side was 4, this side has to be 4 because the whole thing was 8. And so we just, how we always find the area of a trapezoid, base 1 plus base 2, so it's 5 plus 8, times the height, which is 4. So we have 4 times the quantity 5 plus 8. And because it's a trapezoid, we divide by 2. So we say 5 plus 8 is 12. 12 times 4 is 48. And 48 divided by 2 is 24. So now we have two areas on here. We have the area of the trapezoid, which is 24, and the area of the rectangle, which is 32. So to find the area of the whole shape, we have to add them together, and we get total area is 56 square units. Got it? Cool. Let's try another one. Aha, now we have what looks like a house. It's also a pentagon because it has, let's count, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 sides. I think we can have two shapes. What do you think? I think the two shapes are going to be a rectangle and a triangle. So the rectangle, it's easy to see. The height of the pink rectangle is 10. The base is 7. So it's going to be 10 times 7, so this will be 70. But now we got to figure out that. The whole thing here is 15 from top to bottom, and we know the rectangle, this is 10. So if this is 10, what is the height of the triangle going to be? Well, it's going to be 15 minus 10, so that's going to be 5. 15 minus 10 is 5. And the base is going to be the same. So if it's 7 down here, this is going to be 7 also. So how do we find the area of a triangle? You know that it is base times height divided by 2. Base times height divided by 2. So that means it's going to be 5 times 7 divided by 2 is 17.5, right? 5 times 7 is 35. 35 divided by 2 is 17.5. So the triangle is 17.5. And the rectangle we know is 10 times 7, which is 70. So 17.5 plus 70 is 87.5. Got it? All right, let's go try some problems in the book now. Yeah. Okay, so now we are on page 718. You see over here, 718? Please go to page 718. What page? 718. Let's look at letter A here in the book. And I'm going to give you a little tip. I see this looks like this shape and this shape. I'm going to draw a line right here. And now we have two shapes, right? We have a rectangle and we have a trapezoid. Even though the trapezoid is kind of standing up like that, it's still a trapezoid. So we need to find the area first of the rectangle and of that. Give you a hint, rectangle, And then for the trapezoid, we know the base 1 is going to be 10, base 2, if this is 4, it means this is 4. Now how do we find the height? Well, if this is 8 and this is 12, so what's left over? 12 minus 8 will give you a height here of 4. So this is going to be base 1 plus base 2, so this is also a 4. Base 1 plus base 2 times the height, and the whole thing divided by 2 will give you this one. And this is just going to be 8 times 4. So please do letter A, ready, go. All right, so you should have gotten, let's do this one, 8 times 4, this is going to be 32. This is going to be base 1 plus base 2, so it's going to be 10 plus 4 times height, which is 4, times 4, and the whole thing divided by 2. So we know that 10 plus 4 is 14, and we know that 14, 10 plus 4 is 14 times 4 is 56, and then we have to divide it by 2. 56 divided by 2 is 28. So that's 28. So now we know we have one shape is 28, the other shape is 32, and if we add them together, 28 plus 32, we should get, that's going to be 50 plus that is 60. All right, so you should have 60 feet squared. Feet squared. Awesome. So now let's look at letter B, and you can do this, and I'll give you a hint. I'm going to just draw a line right here. So see if you can figure out that one. Ready, go. All right, so we have our, this looks like a square here, right? Because it's 7 by 7. And so I can tell you right now, I mean, you should know 7 times 7, that's going to be 49 for the square. Now we have this trapezoid here. So if the whole thing is 10 and that's 7, that means, you know, the height here is going to be 3. And if this side is 7, then you know this side is 7, right? So now you have base 1 plus base 2 times the height divided by 2. So it's going to be 5 plus 7, 5 plus 7. Now the whole thing is going to be times 3, and then you're going to divide by 2, right? So 5 plus 7 is 12. 12 times 3 is 36, and 36 divided by 2 is 18. So we know that that shape is going to be 18. So now you don't forget, you have to add 18 plus 49, right? And we know that 18 plus 49 is 67. So then the answer for this is going to be 67 meters squared. Got it? Great. Okay. So, cool. Okay, so let's go to the next page, 719, page 719. And we're going to look at example 3, which is, it says, finding the area of overlapping figures. This is a little bit more complicated, right? So we want to find the total area of the blue shape or shapes here. And it looks like there's one square and one rectangle, but they're partially covering each other. So the first thing we do is just figure out the areas of the regular rectangles we have. So we have 12 times 12, which is 144. And here we have 15 times 12, which is 180. And so if we add them together, it even says right here, 144 plus 180 is 324. So that's the whole thing. But that's going to be too much since they're overlapping. So what we have to do now is find the area of this shaded part here, and we have to subtract that shaded part. So how do we find that out? Well, let's see. We know that we have, if this is 12 and this is 6, so if that's 6, that means this must also be 6. So that little side is going to be 6 because 6 plus 6 equals 12. And here we have, if this is 8 and the whole thing is 15, so 8 plus something is 15. Oh, it must be 8 plus 7 is 15. So that means this is 7, right? And you know it's 7 because 7 plus 8 is 15. So this is 6 times 7, which means that's 42. So now, as it says here, 6 times 7 is 42. So now when you add these all up, if you add 144 plus 180, that's 324, minus 42 is 282. So then the answer to that is 282 square centimeters. Got it? It's a little bit complicated finding like the missing measurements. So let's do that here. I'll help you a little bit with this before I make you do it all. So here we have one rectangle. Looks like it's going to be 6 times 7. You should know that. This one is 6 times 8. You should know that. But now we have to subtract this shaded part that I'm putting lines on. So how do we figure that out? Well, if this here is 2, we know that 2 plus whatever this is has to add up to 7, right? So 2 plus what is 7? Well, I'd say that's going to be 5, right? And here we know this little piece is 1, so we know 1 plus something has to equal 6. Oh, looks like that's also 5. So now you know this shape is 5 times 5, and you know this shape here is 6 times 8, and this one is 6 times 7. I wish these were all different colors to make it easier. So now see if you can figure out what is the final answer. So remember, you're going to find out the area of this rectangle, the area of this rectangle, add them together, but then subtract the ones with the lines in it. Okay, ready, go. All right, so if you did it right, you should have, there's the shaded one is 25, and then you have 6 times 7 is 42, so you got 42 plus 6 times 8 is 48. And if you add those together, you get 90. And then 90 minus 25, and you should have 65 feet squared. Got it? That was a hard one. All right, so now let's try the guided practice on page 720. What page are we on? 720. Page 720. And it says, the manager of an apartment complex will install new carpeting in a studio apartment. The floor plan is shown at the right. What is the total area that needs to be carpeted? So we look at this beautiful tiny picture, and right away you can tell that you can cut it into 2 pieces. I would just draw a line right here. And now we have a rectangle, which looks like it's going to be 10 by 25. And you have a trapezoid, where you have base 1 is 12. Base 2 is going to be the same as down there, so it's also going to be 25. And the height, you can see here, is 5 feet. This 8-foot thing you don't really need to know about. So see if you can figure out the answer to number 1 in guided practice. Ready, go. Okay, so let's see. You should have done, for the rectangle, it's 10 times 25, so this part is 250. And for this, it's going to be 12 plus the base, which is 25, right? Base 1 plus base 2 times 5, and the whole thing divided by 2. So you know that 12 plus 25 is 37, and 30, so it's going to be 37 times 5. 37 times 5 is 185. But then you have to divide that by 2, and 185 divided by 2 is 92.5. So I'm going to put 92.5, and that's just the trapezoid, because don't forget you have the 250. So now you have 92.5 plus 250.0, and you get, well, the whole thing should be 342.5 feet squared. Got it? If that seemed long and complicated, it's because it was long and complicated. All right, let's just do one more of these, and then we'll be done pretty much. Okay, let's try number 2. Finn Fitness has an entrance to the locker room for both the dance studio and the weight room. What is the total area of Finn Fitness? All right, so that means you got to find the area of this whole rectangle and this whole rectangle and subtract the area of the locker room. So the hard thing is going to figure out what is this length, what is this length, right? So you're going to subtract the area of the locker room, figure out these two lengths and what they are. Ready, go. Okay, so here's what we do first. We do 28 times 30. 28 times 30 is 840. So this whole thing is 840. I'm going to write it. Can you see if I write it here? 840. And then this one is 33 times 42, which equals 1386. Oh my gosh. And when we add those together, so when you add those together, you get 2226. 2226. Now, that would be the right answer if you had all of this. But now we got to figure out the area of that little locker room and subtract. So here we have, if that's 14, 14 plus something is going to equal 28. Well, so that's going to be another 14. So that's 14. And we know that 16 plus something is going to equal 30 feet. So what's 30 minus 16? It looks like it's also going to be 14. Right? So now we have to do what is 14 times 14. 14 times 14 is 196. So we come over here, I'm going to make this a little easier to read. So we have to do minus 196. And when you subtract 6 minus 6 is 0. We're going to borrow, make that be a 1, that be a 12, that be a 3. And then 1 minus 1 is 0, and that's a 2. Sorry if it's a little hard to read, but you should have as your answer 2030 feet squared as your answer. Whew! Now, I don't think this is that hard to do. It just is long and complicated. So for your homework, you're going to do independent practice, and all you got to do is 5 little baby problems, right? 5 problems. Independent practice, page 721. Page 721. I'll write it right here. Page 721, number 1 to 5. Do your best. It's going to take a long time, but you can do it. Notice, let me just point out number 3, they have a trapezoid shape that is cut out. So it means you're going to find the area of this whole thing minus the area of that trapezoid. This one, you're going to cut it into 2 pieces like that. You're going to cut it into 2 pieces like that. And this, you're going to find the area of that one, find the area of that one, and subtract the area of that. Easy, right? And here's another one. Find the area of this and the area of that, and you are ready to go. Oh, I just showed you something that you didn't see. On number 5, find the area of this rectangle, find the area of this triangle, and add them together. All right. Peace out.